I generated recently with one of our new marketing and sales experiments $127,500 in just 2 hours. There's 3 phases of what I would call implementation. Phase 1, which is where you should start if you are brand spanking new right now, no momentum. Phase 2 is once you have that momentum and you're ready to build upon it. And then phase 3 is the advanced strategy for scaling. I call it money week. This is how I was describing it to my clients the other day when I was teaching it to them and breaking it down. It's like you've got 3 building weeks, and then you've got your money week where you just collect on all of that equity that you built in the business over the last 3 weeks. It's been revolutionary for me. I remember when we might see 10% of people booking what was a sales call. Now, to the same type of traffic, same audience, we're seeing up to 25% of people booking these calls. So we're getting more people booking calls, they're more qualified, and then we're closing more of them on the phone once we've had these conversations. Now, I genuinely feel slightly nervous sharing this type of stuff here on the podcast and also on my YouTube channel, because this really is working so well, and there's going to be this window of opportunity, and people are going to start to jump on this and use this strategy as well, and hopefully it helps you. Hey, welcome back to the Expansion Podcast. And in this episode, I have some very, very exciting news to share. I generated recently with one of our new marketing and sales experiments $127,500 in just 2 hours. Now, you probably already know there's more to the story, and there is. It just sounds cool to say it like that. But I mentioned on the podcast a few episodes ago that I changed my entire model, the program that we're selling and how we're selling it. And I told you the plan, and I told you why I was doing it. And now we're a couple of months on, and I can report that it is working and working very, very well. And I feel that many of you who are doing the opposite of what I'm doing right now may learn a thing or two and perhaps be able to improve the way you're selling your programs, your conversion rates, and the satisfaction of your clients at the same time. And that's what we're going to get into in today's episode. So first things first, I'll take you back. I'll take you back to what we were doing before. Let's call it the old model. Then I'll introduce you to the new model, and then I'll share with you some of the early results that I've got experimenting with it. So the old model. Well, the old model was that we run some ads or produce some content to generate traffic, and we send that into some kind of sales funnel. And for the sake of this conversation, the sales funnel is actually not that important. You might be using a VSL. I often recommend a webinar. There's challenges. There's other things that you could be doing. But at the end of that presentation, video, funnel, whatever you're using, you invite people to book a sales conversation with you to discuss whether your coaching, your services, your product is a good fit for them. And if it is, then you invite them in immediately on that first sales conversation and hope that they say yes. And if they don't, you get out your sales rule book and you flip through it and try to handle all of their objections until you finally beat them into sales submission and they give you their credit card information. Now, there are some gaps in this model, and there are some things about it that I don't like. Namely, there's one of each. So let's start with the gaps in this and something that doesn't really work anymore. The first thing is booking a sales conversation. And this is what I spoke about before. The idea of offering someone at the end of a sales funnel or a webinar presentation the opportunity to book a sales call with you, that used to be sexy, and it no longer is. The idea that someone would be excited about booking a call on your calendar in 2025 and into 2026 is absurd at this point. It used to be good. So you would get to the end of a webinar and be excited back in 2019, 2018 at the thought of getting on that guru's calendar or speak to their team and go behind the scenes. But now the market is wise to this. They know that it's not a strategy session, as many people claim it to be, that it is just a sales call. So they're aware of what it's going to be. They're very apprehensive to book the call. And because of that, booking rates are lower, meaning your cost to acquire a booked call on your calendar is more expensive now because you're getting fewer of them for the same marketing spend. And then when they do come on your calendar, they're less qualified, more apprehensive, and less willing to part with their cash. So you've got higher marketing spend, fewer people coming through, and then harder conversations out the other side. So that was the thing that I didn't like. I didn't like booking sales calls in a way that doesn't feel valuable, and then just having to bully someone into the sale on the phone. That just doesn't feel good, and not something that I wanted to have any part in. But then there's another part of the old model that was just becoming less and less effective, and that was having an evergreen program that you were selling. So it could be consulting, it could be coaching, it could be a course. It doesn't really matter what it is, but you could enroll clients at any time. Any day of the month, they could come in, and that has its problems now. It's lacking in urgency. You can't have any legitimate scarcity. There's no FOMO because there's nothing to fear of missing out of, because you can always just come back and join the thing whenever you want. So if enrollment is just always open, and it's harder to get someone to make a decision, and so I wanted to fix that one as well. So let's go back to the sales call and talk about what I fixed there. Well, I've essentially replaced what would have been a sales conversation with now what I call an application call. And the idea is, rather than getting to the end of a webinar, which is typically what I use, and inviting someone to just quote unquote jump on the phone and see if there's synergy or see if it's a good fit, and there's no real information that I'm giving to the prospect, and I'm just trusting that they would find that a valuable proposition, which of course now we know is not the case. Instead, I tell them on the webinar a bit about my product. I actually go into some of the details. So for example, I'm actually wearing the hoodie from our flagship coaching program, shameless plug. It's called Momentum. It is unbelievable. You should join. In our Momentum program, we have coaching, we have accountability, we have a community, mastermind, resources, a whole host of amazing things. So at the end of a webinar, I will now go through all of that. I will explain the different elements of the program. I will maybe share some client testimonials. I will talk about how proud I am of the program and tease some of the deliverables. And then I will give them the opportunity to apply to speak to us about maybe joining Momentum. And I also make it clear that it is not a given that you can just join. This is not a sales conversation in that it's just a case of me seeing if you're up for it, and if you are, then I'll try to get you in. It's really a case of you truly apply, and we'll jump on the phone to see if you qualify for the program. And we have a few qualifiers: type of person, are they a decent human being? Are we actually going to get on well with them? Would we like them as a client? Would we go for a drink with them? Qualifications for their business. Is it a business that we understand and we truly think that we can help? And qualifications for their goals and where they're trying to go. Are they goals that we have been to before? Do we understand the journey? Can we see a path? And do we think we can help them? So we want to see if they qualify. And if they do, here's the magic: we jump on a second conversation. And this is all part of a sales process that I've been teaching my clients for a while now, funnily enough, inside of this program. And it's called the push and the pull. We had the first conversation where we kind of push them away a little bit. We don't make it, clear that they just get to join. It's like we really do push them away. And then if it's feeling good on our side and also on their side, then we book a second conversation, and that's where we might invite them in. And the whole process just feels so much better. But here's where this has really, transformed the results for my business, is that we're finding that by actually giving more information at the end of the webinar about the product before we give them a chance to book the call, which is now an application call, we're actually getting a significantly higher call booking rate. So for example, on webinars that we had before, we might see 10% of people booking what was a sales call, right? Now, to the same type of traffic, same audience, we're seeing up to 25% of people booking these calls, and they're more qualified because they even know what the product is. And in some cases, we even tease how much it cost. And as a further result of that, we're having a higher conversion rate on the phone too. So we're getting more people booking calls, they're more qualified, and then we're closing more of them on the phone once we've had these conversations. Now, I genuinely feel slightly nervous sharing this type of stuff here on the podcast and also on my YouTube channel, because this really is working so well, and there's going to be this window of opportunity, and people are going to start to jump on this and use this strategy as well. And I feel like I'm furthering the advancement of that by sharing it here. But the reality is, whether I talk about it on the podcast or not, people are going to find my funnels. They're going to go through it, and they're going to see what we're doing anyway. And hopefully it helps you. So that's what I fixed on the sales call side, changing it from a boring old traditional book a call to now a bit of detail about the program and they apply. Now, the second thing that I fixed is the Evergreen program. So they can just join at any time. There's no urgency. And there's a whole host of other problems, actually, that perhaps I won't bore you with right now. But just know that it was becoming a very inefficient model and quite challenging to scale. So what I've done now is I do something called the micro-launch and the micro-cohort. And the idea here is that in any given month, I close the program. And I want to make this clear. Legitimately close the program, meaning people cannot join. Enrollment is not open. And I do that for 3 weeks of the month. And then I have 1 week of the month where people can, in fact, join and enrollment opens. So what I have now in the month is I have 3 weeks where I'm having fun. There's no sales pressure. I'm delivering for existing clients. I'm having fun recording podcast episodes like this and shooting content on my YouTube channel and doing speaking engagements and all the stuff that I enjoy doing. And there is zero sales pressure. But all we're doing is building up the demand for our coaching for the next time that it opens. And then when we do open, we have a flood of people waiting to get in. And the sales process is really smooth, really simple. We fill the cohort and then we close it down. Now, there are some interesting things that are happening in this 3 weeks because we still have our ads running. We still have our YouTube channel that's getting people interested in booking calls with us. And so what do we do with these people? Do we tell them that we're not open? Do we turn away their money? The answer is yes, but with a little bit more strategy and thought. So basically what happens is in that 3 weeks when we're closed, we are still accepting conversations and we will still have those chats and we will do what you would call the sales process. And we would do it all the way up until the point where we would invite them in because they can't join yet, it's not open. And so we would then put someone on a wait list. So if we've had the conversations, it's sounding good to them, it's sounding good to us, everyone's excited about doing this program and we're excited about having them in, then we would put them on a wait list and they would get first dibs on a spot when we open for enrollment. If someone's really keen and fully committed, then we would even take a deposit to secure their spot. Now, there's all sorts of questions running around your mind right now. Would people really wait around? What if you speak to someone right at the beginning of the month? Are they truly going to wait 3 weeks? The answer is yes. Because think about it. You've got prospects right now, most likely, that you've been trying to get into your program for weeks, right? They booked a call with you and, you've had multiple calls now that have stretched over a couple of weeks and then they've ghosted you a little bit and then they went away for a month and disappeared and then they came back into your world and showed interest again. It's like, this is happening with prospects. They need time to warm up. It's not like it was back in 2019 when selling high ticket online was really easy. I remember when you could turn someone from a complete cold stranger to a high ticket buyer in 48 hours. I could run an ad on Facebook into a webinar, book a call, and next day they would enroll in the high ticket coaching. Now, those scenarios could still be present, but the wider market, that's just not the way buyer activity is happening right now. There needs to be this period of time. So I'm always using that to my advantage. So rather than it being a concern for you, you need to look at the upside of it, that actually that gives time for the person to really start to build that desire for I really want to be a part of this person's program. I can't believe it's legitimately closed. It doesn't sound like John's desperate for my money at all. And that actually makes me want it all the more. So the 3 weeks goes by. I'm having great conversations with no sales pressure. I'm building a wait list of really hot, ready to buy prospects. And by the time we get to my moment when I open enrollment, I can already forecast for how many clients I'm likely to enroll when enrollment opens, which means I can budget for the business, we can plan, we can set targets, we can make sure that we've got the coaching resource that we would need to service that many clients that are about to come in. It just makes everything in the business so much better. And then what I like to do on the day that enrollment opens is I tend to do a live training for my community. This is just what works for me. This is the mini launch that opens up the mini cohort. And it's called mini, of course, because it's just one every month. Rather than doing one yearly launch, which is very time consuming, very expensive, very risky, I'm doing them in these little micro cohorts. And I do a mini launch. Inside of the 3 weeks, we're generating new leads, building more interest, building this little pressure pot of people that are interested in what we're doing. And then I do a live training, provide a whole bunch of value, and at the end, invite them to apply. At the same time, we offer the spots to those on the wait list, and all this sales activity happens in that week. I call it money week. This is how I was describing it to my clients the other day when I was teaching it to them and breaking it down. It's like you've got 3 building weeks, and then you've got your money week where you just collect on all of that equity that you built in the business over the last 3 weeks. It's been revolutionary for me. We've done it for the last few months now. To give you an example, for one of our programs, this one here, Momentum, we did $127,500 in that 2-hour training. The 2 hours was how long it took me to deliver the webinar. But then, of course, my sales team was speaking to prospects, but having great conversations that are really enjoyable, very low pressure, and people loved coming in. Now, I could inflate that 127,500 into 300,000 or 400,000, because the reality is the 127 actually only equates to the immediate revenue collected from these clients for their initial time with us. But the way Momentum works is that we have clients that then roll on and pay a monthly subscription with us, or some of them go and do 6-month chunks and 12-month chunks. So if we were to put an average order value on that, we would be looking up into the hundreds of thousands, but just immediate cash collected, 127 with 2 hours of work and 3 weeks of fun. Feels pretty good to me, and it's working very well. And now what we're going to do is continue to scale this model so that we can do more with less and continue to have fun in the process. Now, if this is interesting you, I want to give you a little bit more. I'm going to go a bit deeper. And this is, I guess, how you would implement this in practice. There's 3 phases of what I would call implementation of this model. And there's phase 1, which is where you should start if you are brand spanking new right now, no momentum, no track record, and no results. And you've got no clients, okay? Phase 2 is once you have that momentum and you're ready to build upon it. And then phase 3 is the advanced strategy for scaling. And so I'll very quickly take you through all of these. Phase 1, if you don't have anything right now and you're just trying to get that proof of concept, then I actually wouldn't suggest doing the micro launch and doing a very specific enrollment week within the month. I actually wouldn't suggest doing that. It might sound like it's countering what I just said, but stick with me. I actually would keep your program open evergreen for now until you have some proof of concept of clients coming in. But what you can do is architect almost like a mini application and waitlist process. And so when you're doing your webinars and you're getting activity coming through and people are booking these application calls with you, you still do my push and my pull. You still have one conversation, get off the phone, think about it, jump on the second conversation. You tell them in between that you're going to go away and have a think about this, that they can do the same, and you'll get back to them and see if they qualify for the program and whether you'd like to invite them in. So it creates this moment for the prospect where you're demonstrating that you're not desperate for the sale, and you're going to take this seriously, about whether they come in or not. And if you feel like they're a good fit, then you do jump on again with them and you invite them in. And that in turn will increase your conversion rates. It just works so much better. I've got tons of videos on my YouTube channel all about this that you should go and check out. And then, of course, you're implementing the application call as opposed to the sales call. So that's what you would do in phase 1 to just get some momentum, get some traffic running, get some calls coming in and start landing some clients. But then we move to phase 2. Once you have a bit of an audience, once you have some momentum, now we're at a place where you can start to reverse engineer how many clients you would want in any given month and how much activity it would take to do that during Money Week. And then you decide, when is Money Week going to be? So when do I open up enrollment? And then now, let's say you're in December, right now. So then you would say, right, for January, I'm changing my model. This is going to be when enrollment is open. And for the first 3 weeks of January, it's just going to be building and building and building towards that enrollment moment. And then, of course, you'll do your micro launch. So you do a training of some kind or launch a VSL or launch a sales page to announce that your program is open, and then you hit up the wait list, you hit up your sales pipeline, and you go out to your community and your email list to let them know that it's open. So that would be phase 2, but it's only worth doing that in phase 2 and actually moving to the 1 week selling, 3 weeks not selling. It's only worth doing that once you've got some momentum. Otherwise, you run the risk of doing 3 weeks of nothing, and then you also have another week of nothing because you currently have nothing. So you've got to have something from phase 1 to make phase 2 worth doing. So hopefully that makes sense. Then, once phase 2 is working well, meaning you've done a few months of this, and it's actually proving very fruitful and very beneficial, then what you do is you move to phase 3. Now, this is advanced. Most of you probably aren't ready for this. It's just the reality. This is let's call it a 7 and 8 figure strategy, not a 6 figure strategy. But some of you listening might be ready for this. So what we then do in phase 3 is, rather than having our front end funnel, meaning we're driving traffic, we're producing content, and we're sending all that traffic into a funnel that books the application calls and goes straight for high ticket in that next enrollment period. Instead, we implement what I call a 1-for-1 front end funnel. And the idea is we create a program that sits before your main program. So let's say you've got a $5,000 or $10,000 coaching program right now. That's the main thing. That's what you want clients for. Then you're going to create, let's say, $1,000 light version of that. And then you're going to have a front end 1-for-1 funnel. And that's where the game plan of the funnel is for it not to be profitable, but just quite simply break even. So you spend $1,000 to promote the funnel on paid ads, and you get $1,000 back. You spend $1,000, you make a sale, you've made your money back. You spend $10,000, you make 10 sales, 10 grand, you make your money back. You spend 100,000, you make 100 sales, 100 grand, you made your money back. And now all those leads, all those buyers, all that activity is coming into your business completely for free, because the advertising costs offset themselves with the lower ticket product that was only serving as a stepping stone anyway to the main thing. So where this gets just unbelievable is then all of that activity that's coming into the business is ready and primed for the main big ticket thing that's going to open up once a month. And then the revenue from those sales is close to pure profit because all your advertising costs were covered. Now, why is this an advanced strategy, and why am I suggesting that you don't jump straight to it? Well, because it sounds great in principle, but it's a lot more work, right? You've got multiple products to manage now. You've got multiple funnels. You've got lots of ad spend. I mean, the whole operation gets bigger. At that point, you do need a team of people to help you. And this is when really, you're going for the tens of clients per month as opposed to single digit clients, right? We're on track to start doing 50, 60, 70 clients a month and be able to manage that and deliver to them at a world-class level. Well, for that, the operation just needs to be bigger. But if right now you're just looking for 5 to 10 clients a month, then you probably don't need to implement a 1-for-1 front end funnel. You can just do it with one main primary funnel that gets your activity moving and then closes your deals during Money Week. So there you have it. That's what I'm doing. That's where I'm at. Those are the results so far. It's so much fun. I'm having a great time in business right now. It's fixing some of the biggest problems. And for those of you listening to this that are not just wanting to listen, but actually implement, I think you're going to see some fantastic results. And do circle back and get in contact with me and my team some way, somehow, and let us know about the results that you're getting, because I would love to hear it. Thanks for tuning in again for the Expansion Podcast. I hope to claim you as a regular listener, and I'll see you in the next episode.